let them lose now. Everything to prove now. Long as I'm alive, I'ma fight back. My fire never cools down. I'm about to catch fire. Yeah, I'm about to catch fire. Get ready for the new me. Get ready for the new me. Try to hold me down and I go higher. Try to put me out and I go louder. I'm a fighter, a survivor. Stand back when I catch fire.
The World Surf League's Challenger Series welcomes you back to France. Stop 3 of 4 for our Challenger Series for 2021. The world's best surfers fighting for the dream of Championship Tour qualification. As we see an overview of the beautiful southwest coast of France, Hossegor is the town, Les Cunus is the spot. And this time of year, all of our surfers from around the world focusing attention on prime season in Europe. As we see our contest set up in the early morning lights, day one of our waiting period. My name is Paul Evans in the studio for the call this morning. Joining me will be Ben Mundy and Peter Mel. How are we feeling, chaps?
Oh, I'm feeling great, Paul. Yeah, look at that. The sun's trying to peek its way over the horizon. The banks look great, and we're in France. I'm very, very happy.
Good to be back at this time of the year. I love France. I love these beach breaks. Competition here is always fun. Very challenging for the surfers, being that we get these tides that swing and just so many different factors here, which makes this place very difficult to compete, but very fun to watch.
And we're coming in hot into this one off the back of an amazing event in Portugal and halfway through in our Challenger Series as well. And I guess we've kind of got a few people making bold statements up the rankings and other people trying to get in that conversation. Really exciting time on the Challenger Series.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's getting out of the crunch time. You know, we had the event in America and then down in Portugal. And all the surfers had time. Now there's no time. You know, you've got to make your mark and you've got to make it here in France. So, yeah, it's fighting for the dream, as the tagline goes. And I'll tell you what, it's starting to happen now.
And down the years, Pete, you've seen a little bit of everything at this spot, from huge barrels down to, you know, kind of beach break, kind of technical small wave surfing. Let's see what we've got. It's going to take all the tools in the toolkit.
I was going to say, they probably brought 2 board bags full of boards, maybe even 3 board bags. I mean, it's literally that type of wave. You could literally be surfing 1 to 2 foot surf all the way to 10-foot barrels. So it's one of those places on the schedule that it is very challenging. And matter of fact, you could even be switching boards during the day, right? It's just that kind of vary in where we be surfing. And this bank that we've been looking at, that we're probably going to be surfing, is a left bank the majority of the time, but at different tides it'll move over to a total different peak, a different right. You know, there's lefts, and it's just like I said, it's going to be one of those things where you have those transition heats. You got to be able to adjust. It's great.
Well, midway through our Challenger Series, this is the 3rd stop of 4. Let's take a look at those Women's Challenger Series rankings. And as we see there, Gabriela Bryan from Hawaii leading this one. Taking our top 6, so the cutoff will be at number 6 for the Championship Tour for next year. But interesting to see some of those names in there, guys. We've got some more established names, and we've got the up-and-comers, and that has been a really interesting story in the Challenger Series so far.
Yeah, it's almost sort of cleaved in two. I mean, you see Gabriela Bryan, who I think we're going to get in the booth here soon and get her take on it, but she's way out in front. But then the rest of them are so clumped. Yeah, you got your Paul Nadeau, the French veteran, Coco Ho trying to get back on CT, and then, yeah, that next sort of rush of talent, Betty Lou, Sakura Johnson, for example, Caitlin Simmers, only 15, 16, Luana Silva, who won the event down in Portugal last week. So, yeah, there's some up-and-comers battling out with the experienced vets. It's a good mix.
A couple of good Euro names in there. But, Pete, I guess for the women, just like the men, there is that story of the young Americans that they're coming up, and there's a depth of talent there. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and we've been able to get a good read on them, right? We've been able to see the U.S. Open. We've been able to see Sarah, and both of these events a bit different, but also you look at the domination from Gabriela Bryan, which again, you mentioned we're going to be able to hear from her, but she is way out in front, but everyone else right there within striking distance, even Carissa Moore all the way down to 20 there. I mean, anybody can make a move up of 20 spots, even below this number 20. I do like the youngsters that have been showing up in the rankings right now that are in that top 10. They're amazing talents, and they're just going to get better, because they're still so young that I feel like it's just they're learning the competition, and they're just going to get better and better.
Of course, the Hawaiian sweep for both women and men down in Portugal. I see that Hawaiian flag next to the name of Ezekiel Lau. We're also going to bring in the studio shortly, but he's looking good, full of confidence. Surfing's really impressive. leading this one at the moment.
Yeah, we'll pick his brain. Yeah, hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, he's on fire. He won that event in Portugal. He wants to win the qualifying series. That's his goal, and he's really fired up and really focused. So he was saying, he's had 2 years off competition effectively, and all the training, all the hard work's come down to this European leg. It's so condensed. So
we're going to take 12 men from the Challenger Series. Of course, best 3 results of 4, so it's all up for grabs here, Pete.
It is. You're thinking a perfect season would be 30,000 points. So what does that 12 number look like? Is it 13,000? Is it 15,000? We don't really know yet. But ultimately, you just got to keep making heats, and I think that's what everyone there, especially you talk to a guy like Ezekiel Lau who wants to win. He needs to make 4 or 5 heats in this event if he really wants to solidify that spot. But very comfortable, looks like right now, with what he has at 14,000 points is pretty good, especially the very last event of the year going into Haleiwa. You would have to like his odds.
We've talked about this European leg and these 2 events back-to-back. We've had, a week off between the last one, but the surfers that were on fire down there in Ericeira, they'd just be waiting for this one to start, just keep that mojo going.
yeah, exactly. It's a very different challenge in many respects from those sort of really sort of standard point break down there at Ribeira de Ilash. Here's the, a tricky little beach break. So very different. But yeah, those guys have got momentum. Trying to hang on to that for the week may be difficult. But yeah, that they're on form. The Nat Youngs, the Liam O'Briens, those guys have got results down there will be, super confident.
And we talk about seasons, and that was one of the things that came from that dream tour, was like prime locations in prime season, Pete. But just because you're in the right kind of time of year climatically doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get great surf. And it could, the Challenger Series, well, it could be a little bit of a challenge here in France. Let's see.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, our forecast isn't awesome. Usually you want to have those fall kind of conditions where you have offshores all day long. Right now, that doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Matter of fact, the next couple of days look pretty small. So you're going to have your dancing shoes on, which we had mentioned very early in the show. You got to have your grovelers, which are your boards for your 1 to 2 foot, because probably have a couple rounds in those types of conditions. And then the next thing you know, in the forecast, we've got these stormy big conditions, 8 to 10 foot, which means you'll probably have your 6.5s and 6.4s, and so you have to have those boards. You have to be able to make those adjustments and have it in your bag.
And throw into the mix as well. We've been talking about it a lot, but it's ever part of our conversation. You have the massive tidal swings as well. That's going to be really important out here too, Ben.
Yeah, it always is. This week not as big as they do get sometimes, but it's a huge factor. This left-hand bank is potentially high tide bank, so the low tide can take it away. So yeah, the guys got to manage that whole 10 days.
Early Saturday morning here on the southwest coast of France. We're waiting for a little bit of light to show us what's going on out the ocean and wait for a call.
Let's go to break in 10,
We're going to get a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to bring in Ezekiel Lau and Gabriela Bryan. Join us for more from the studio after this.
30 minutes hit, 3, and men 2, are off for the 1.
They coming in now?
Donc bonjour à toutes et à tous, c'est officiel. On démarre à 8h35 avec le ROXY Pro France. Le Quiksilver Pro France est off pour aujourd'hui. On démarre à 8h35 donc avec le premier round du ROXY sur des séries de 30 minutes.
Back in 30. Back in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the morning show for the Quiksilver and ROXY Pro France. Early morning lines revealing themselves on our contest bank out here at Les Cunues in Hossegor. Joining us in the studio to chat all things Challenger Series and life itself is Gabriela Bryan, our ratings leader for the Challenger Series. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
How are you enjoying your time in France so far?
Yeah, I love it. It's a little bit colder than Portugal for sure, but I'm having a great time, and we're finding some fun waves even though they're small, so can't ask for anything more.
Number 1 spot, leading the ratings. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. It feels really good, and I'm hoping to stay there. That's my goal now, is to win the Challenger Series, so I'm going to do my best here and in Haleiwa.
And have you had much chance to surf around here? What have you made of the waves so far from what you've seen in France?
Yeah, we've been surfing every day, just up and down these banks. It's insane. There's so many, and it's so much fun, and hopefully we get some good swell.
All right, well, we're still waiting for our call this morning. We're chatting with Gabriela Bryan, and just thinking about that energy with the women on tour and the way this Challenger Series is panning out. How is that? How are you guys hanging out together? Is there that group energy, sort of doing your own thing, strictly business? Is it a mix between sort of business and pleasure?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a mix. We like to keep things light. I've been hanging out with Luana Silva. We have the same coach, and Ella McCaffrey. So we like to have fun, and we've been just having fun surfing, but definitely gotta keep it in business too.
And what about the Hawaiian push? You know, your young Hawaiian ladies are just on fire at the moment. Obviously, you made the final with Lulu down there in Portugal, but Betty Lou, there seems to be like a real big push coming out from those islands.
Yeah, for sure. This next generation is insane, and it's really cool to see how many of us are up at the top and have a chance at qualifying, and it'd be really cool to see all of us do that.
And so Portugal was, another great event for you. We're going to check out some highlights of that. Must be some pretty cool memories. The surf pumped and amazing performances from the women, yourself included.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of those highlights. Remind ourselves what went down in the Mayo Visla Pro in Ericeira a week before last. The surf was pumping throughout. Some incredible performances going down. But you look like you're really enjoying this wave.
Yeah, this wave I think really suited my style. It had a lot of power, like at home, even though it was a little bit mushy, but it definitely was a benefit for us Hawaiians, this wave, and it showed because both the winners were from Hawaii, and we all had good results.
Just in terms of the kind of performances going down on the Challenger Series, particularly we think about some of the scores, there were a lot of excellent numbers in basically every heat. Really impressive for us to commentate on, but even for you guys to surf that level, that must just kind of push you and inspire you that bit more.
Yeah, to hear the bigger scores drop is definitely like a confidence booster, like, oh, I can do it. I can get like excellent scores. And when you have the opportunity and you can showcase your surfing, it feels really good.
Of course, so you just came just that little bit short. I mean, we might see that eventually at one stage you were in the lead, on the rocks looking out, and as your opponent, the one that took off on a wave. So how did you process that? It was a great result, but it's got to hurt to lose a final, right?
Yeah, for sure. That one definitely hurt a little bit because there's nothing I could have done. That wave just came, and that's the way it played out. And this gave me more fire to hopefully win this or Haleiwa because I really want to win. So, I'll just take that fire and put it towards these next two events.
Different sort of set of challenges at this wave. I mean, obviously, it kind of depends what we get in terms of swell, but just thinking about the beach break versus that running point break we had last week. What about surfing-wise? What have you kind of been working on? Without giving too many secrets, of course, but what have you been working on to excel down here in France?
I think here in France, you really have to pay attention to the tides. They're so dramatic. So just surfing the bank on all the different tides is something I've been doing. And it's completely different than Portugal. So you have to bring out the other side of your surfing, your beach break. And I'm really looking forward to this event.
But I would say, because you did obviously made the final in Huntington, very small conditions, weren't they? So, I think you've proved you're quite adaptable. Has that always been part of your surfing, or have you even surprised yourself with your ability in all these conditions?
Yeah, I've had a lot of events at Huntington, like all of our nationals. And at home, I surf beach breaks a lot as well as reef. So I'm kind of used to both, and that's really beneficial to be able to do both. So, I'm pretty comfortable in both.
Apart from like the waves and surfing itself, of course, there's a lot else out there, particularly in France. Sort of cultural highlights. What sort of stuff are you into? You hitting the bread shop early? How are you enjoying France?
Those bakeries are good, right?
Those bakeries are insane. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from the bakeries, but you can't resist them. Like chocolate croissants and even the gelato around here is pretty good. So maybe after the comp, we'll hit up all the bakeries.
So we are enjoying ourselves down here in France, but thinking about getting that call coming up shortly. Chat with Gabriela Bryan at the moment. When we come back, we're going to get a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get Ezekiel Lau in here, our ratings leader on the Challenger Series.
Going to break
for the
in
men.
10,
Hawaiians
9,
dominating
8,
at the moment. Let's see what goes
7,
down in France. We'll bring Zeke in.
6,
Join us for more
5,
live from the studio
4,
right after the break.
3, 2, and 1.
Check. Okay, it's a horn test, horn test. It was a test.
Back in
We'll
30
start
seconds.
in less than 20 minutes with the ROXY Pro France. Hit number 1.
Back in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Welcome back to the Quiksilver and ROXY Pro France morning show from day one of our waiting period on the Challenger Series. And time to bring in Ezekiel Lau into the studio, mate. Leading the ratings, massive result in Portugal. You must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it feels good. You know, I mean, I've never seen my name at the top of the ratings like that, so it definitely feels good looking at it. But yeah, Portugal was a good event, but now we're here in France and we got to do it all over again.
Little gap, we had a week off. Were you keen just to run this thing like last week? If you could, guess you just want to keep that ball rolling, right? You must be feeling pretty great.
Yeah, for sure. You want to just keep the momentum going and just want to, you know, keep the ball rolling, but you got to kind of take that time off and have that time to recharge and regroup and everything. And yeah, I guess that week off kind of gave us that time, but now I'm ready to go.
And in terms of France, you've been coming here a long time. I remember seeing you here. It was pretty young on a Volcom trip, staying just over the other side of the dune here. A lot of good memories of France. You enjoy the place?
Yeah, for sure. I love coming to France. I mean, the waves are usually always good, and you know the vibes are good here. And especially working with Quiksilver now, like this is pretty much their town. So, you know, I definitely feel real comfortable here. And having come here previously for the CT has been amazing. And yeah, a lot of good memories here. So I'm stoked to be here back in France and hopefully get some good waves.
I suppose it's like, you know, often you dream of France, you think of those spitting barrels. We just saw Mark Lacamari on the screen getting barrel, but often, you know, you've got to adjust, don't you? It's not always perfect. It's not always those spitting barrels that people around the world think of. It can be, as we see today, it can be tricky, it can be fun. So, yeah, how do you sort of recalibrate sometimes?
France is one of those events you got to be ready for everything. I mean, with dealing with the tide and everything, even though it's firing when you're watching it, you could paddle out 20 minutes later and that wave's not even breaking there. So I've learned over the years that France, you really have to be onto it and be ready to adapt to any condition, and you know, so much can happen. So yeah, the waves can be firing, but it doesn't mean it's going to be good in your heat. So you got to be able to adapt and do what you got to do to make your heat, and hopefully make it far enough to where, you know, they are running when it's firing and you're still in the event.
In terms of those Challenger Series ratings, of course, in that #1 spot at the moment, but in terms of just you, how hard is it not to think about that goal and just kind of focus on that? The classic heat by heat is the line, but how easy is that to do?
It's not easy at all. You know, you got to kind of shift your focus. You know, you look at the ratings, you see your name up there, it feels good, but at the same time, you're like, I want to stay there. So what do I have to do to stay there? I have 2 more events to go. So yeah, exactly. I just got to shift my focus back into the heat by heat, wave by wave mentality and just try and keep it going. You know, you never know what's going to happen here, so you just got to be ready for it.
Just sort of similar routines to what you had in Portugal, same music, similar sort of stuff for breakfast, just keep it going, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just keep it going, whatever's working and whatever's feeling good. You know, I just I've been kind of taking it easy and just stepping back from the surfing part as much, like just kind of recharge, just relax, eat some good food, hang out, enjoy France. It's beautiful here. So I'm just trying to take it easy until the event starts, and then, you know, when it's time to switch it on, it's time to go.
And think about this particular bank. We've got it's a peak, but left and a right. But there's been a national event on here, so not much opportunity for you guys to practice. You've been surfing up and down the coast. You've done much free surfing the last week.
Yeah, we got a couple banks. I'm staying a little bit down the beach here, and we got a couple banks right in front of my house. So I just been surfing out there and just getting a couple wiggles in, feel the board, feel the wax in the feet, and just, you know, keep it moving. And then it's pretty similar. Every bank around here, it's pretty much the same. So. It won't be that much different to figure out. You just kind of watch a few heats and break it down.
And we got the same plane up, didn't we, Zeke? And we both lost our boards, as it turned out, which is a bit of a bugger. But they've turned up, which is good. But I saw you cradling that trophy, mate. You were on the plane on the little transfer bus. Like your own table down there for Portugal. You know, you've been holding on to that thing.
Hit number one, get ready.
You know, how great does it feel to have that trophy sitting at home right now?
It feels really good. You know, I came to Europe just wanting to win an event. That was like my goal. Just one of them, either Portugal or France. I just know these waves kind of suit my style of surfing, powerful waves. So yeah, I just felt really good to have that trophy, and I just didn't want to let it go. So.
Well, we're in the southwest of France, and we got a little animation to show you, sort of illustrate where we are exactly. So, as we spin across the Atlantic Ocean, that's us just nestled in the corner there, part of the world that's been put on the map, certainly in the surf world, for the quality of waves down here. Deep water funnels in a lot of energy out of the North Atlantic. That all comes into really steep tidal sandbars. Not much of a continental shelf here to slow the swells down. That's why this place does barrel right on the beach. Of course, makes it exciting for spectators as well. Get the opportunity to be really close to our athletes. We check a little sweep down the coast. This is the area known as Senyos. And as we head down south towards where we are right now in Les Couilloux, that's us right there. You see the Lac d'Hossegor behind, and then the famous La Gravière site of some classic moments with Quiksilver and ROXY Pro France competition down the years, even Lenore as well. Think of that 2004 final between Bruce and Andy. That was pumping, and that's the reason why it pumps the Capitan Canyon, that deep water. Similar kind of story to Nazaré, not quite on the same magnitude. Just allowing those swells to funnel in, bring us exceptional surfing conditions.
Where does that? Yeah, how did that form, Paul? What's the deal with that canyon? You're an oceanographer.
Yeah, basically when the plates collided, the thing that formed the mountains. If you look south of here, you see that ridge of mountains, the Pyrenees, as they're known behind. The same thing that caused those mountains. You got the Iberian plate kind of colliding with the European plate, and that's how we got that deep crevice. That's what gives us waves, which is nice. So Zeke, you're not thinking too much about bathymetry, you're thinking about your heats. We're going to get a call shortly, but mate, thanks for coming in to chat, and best of luck. Keep it going.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial break.
90-second break.
We're going to have the call with Travis Logie, find out what we're running exactly here on day one of our waiting period. Join us for more from the morning show from Quiksilver and ROXY Pro France
4,
right after this.
3, 2, 1.
Just over 10 minutes to start. All free surfers, please paddle in, clear the camp area. All free surfers, please start to paddle in, clear the camp area.
Back in 30
Les
seconds.
free surfers, s'il vous plaît, qui ne sont pas dans la première série, de bien vouloir sortir de l'eau.
Back in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
And a very warm welcome back to the Quiksilver and ROXY Pro France Challenger Series, touching down in France, bringing elite surfers from around the world, all looking to fight for the dream of Championship Tour qualification. Nice view of our sandbar there. We like triangles, don't we, Ben? Looks like we've got some good shape out there.
Look at all those little gullies. So that's the left-hand bank. We can see all the surfers free surfing. The next one down, there's another channel. Looks like almost like a reef sort of pass. That's just another right-hand bank as we sort of fade south.
The free surfers in the
have
lineup.
these little drones before you check the surf each morning. It'd be quite handy.
Area.
But yeah, the banks,
empty,
as we've talked about, look amazing. We had a long flat spell here. The sand's built up. And it's got these little gutters
only
and
10
corners,
minutes
and
for
the whole way along the beach
of the day.
Some amazing waves. So yeah, we've got waves. We don't have the swell is the problem, but we've got enough. This bank's been standing up, 2-foot swell all week, making it really fun. They had a Pro Junior here. They've had a French Federation event, and all throughout the week on these small swells, there's been big scores getting posted.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about the French sandbars and their ability to hold some of the meatier swells, but also, I guess this one here at Cunu, it's one of those that kind of amplifies the swell a little bit, and that's what we're sort of hoping for this morning. Not a great deal of swell out there right now. Let's find out shortly what are we going to be looking at in terms of running with the Quiksilver or ROXY Pro France. But just think about those early round guys and think about getting down, if we do get the call to run today, some exciting matchups coming. Who are we looking forward to seeing in action?
Well, in the women's, depending on if we start with the women's and the men's, but in the women's, yeah, Tatiana Weston-Webb, the world number 2. She's serving in the very first heat, so it just shows like straight off the bat we're into it. And she was literally maybe 2 turns away from being a world champion this year. She made
so once again, all free surfers, please guys, paddle in.
The finals day. So yeah, straight up we're in some heavy hitters.
I guess that's the thing about Challenger Series, Pete. We've got established names from the Elite Championship Tour. We've got teenagers writing brand new chapters in the sport, and that's kind of why it's exciting on the Challenger Series.
And the variety that we're going to see, age, what part of the globe they're from. I mean, it's just these stories just keep coming, right? We kind of are just now starting to get into some of these stories. I mean, you'll see that there's some faces that you didn't expect are going to make it deep into this event, and all of a sudden we're going to talk about how they got here, and that's what's so interesting to me. I mean, I obviously love the Championship Tour, but a lot of those names have been there for a while. Like, this is this new crop that are trying to scrape the way, and they're fighting for that dream. And it's exciting to kind of tell those stories.
Well, let's see how today pans out. We just saw from our vision that we saw from the drone. It does look kind of small out there. So, you know, let's go and find out, actually. We're going to go down here from Travis Logie. He's making the big decisions. Let's find out what running today. Down to you, Joanna.
That's right. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Travis. Well, what does it look like for you? What do we have today?
Good morning, Joanna. Super fun little waves, a little 2 to 3 foot left rip bowl. Everybody's ripping out there, so we're super stoked to get underway with women's round 1.
Okay, and being the third event of 4 stop, you know, we're gonna, sorry. What do the athletes need to bring for this event? You know, it's so close to the end and they need to solidify their spot in the rankings.
Yeah, this is so significant. I mean, when we go to Hawaii, it's a smaller format and we go off current rank. So this is their last chance to make sure they qualify for Hawaii, because if they're not in Hawaii, they can't qualify for the CT. So it's super important every heat.
That's right. Well, back to you guys.
Thanks, Joanna. High stakes at the ROXY Pro France. So there's the call. We're going to go with the women.
Okay, once again, all free surfers, please.
Straight from the get-go on the first day of competition, first day of a waiting period.
Paddle in.
Just to reiterate, like, you talk about the smaller format. So when we do go to Hawaii, we have less days to run the event. So they're going to have to shrink the field. And that's an important part of all of this too, right? Because ultimately, if you're in the event and you have a chance to win, you get 10,000 points, you can rock it up those rankings.
All free surfers, please paddle in.
So it is a very important event for that
We'll
bottom
start
echelon.
in a few minutes now.
Who's going to get into the last event of the year? And Haleiwa is a it's the climax of this whole thing, and that's where your last chance to get into it. So it's really important.
Ben, we're used to seeing tube shootouts this time of year in France. Not sure we're going to get that today. We're going to see some high performance ripping. You must be relishing that from the women.
Yeah, I can't wait.
France de bien vouloir sortir de l'eau, de libérer la zone de compète. On va démarrer dans peu de temps maintenant.
The forecast,
so just over 5 minutes, to start. All free surfers, please, guys, paddle in.
It doesn't look very good.
There's
the
a
next couple of days are potentially smaller.
Just over 5 minutes to go.
Take time, and we've got a pretty challenging forecast. So
Yeah, I think the decision to run and just get some.
So please
heat on the way
paddle
when
in.
when we've got contestable conditions is a bit of a no-brainer. So yeah, I'm excited.
All right, we're underway here at the ROXY Pro France first day of competition for our Challenger Series. Stop 3 of 4 coming into this one already. You see those rankings shaping up. We looked at them earlier, but a chance really now to make a big statement towards that qualification. Let's see who can get that done here this morning as we'll check out a little overview of our contest setup. The famous sands of Hossegor, France. Pyrenees Mountains in the background there. Our surfers this morning not thinking too much about the scenery. They're thinking about getting the job done. Who's going to do that? Well, let's set up our first
5 minutes
heat. We're
before
gonna see
start.
Tatiana
Once again,
Weston,
all
where
free
we mentioned
surfers
her
paddle in
just
right now,
previously.
please, guys.
She'll be taking on Soya Lindblad, Garachi Sanchez Urtun, and Janir Gonzalez Echebarri. So a couple of Basques and a Brazilian and American in that first heat. That's going to be coming up shortly as we wait to start here this morning. But we're looking forward to getting underway here. First day, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, day one, and we're on, and it's early. You know, we've got that little horseshoe bank. You'll see that it's still a rip bowl though. So these surfers, I mean, the Basque women have, you know, they're just from probably an hour and a half down the coast, so they would have surfed here so many times. But these rip bowls, Pete, like they can drag you out of position, even at 2 foot or 3 foot like today. You can get caught out of position. It can drag you around. So it's still, you know, it's going to be, especially with four surfers in the heat, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, and one thing in regards to the tides here, it's 2.5 foot or 2.5 meter difference in tides today.
Okay,
which
4 minutes to start. Once again, last free surfers, please paddle in, clear the comp area.
So
Hit number 1, you can join the lineup.
Still,
can paddle out.
on any other event,
Tatiana Weston
around
Webb
the
in
world,
red.
that's a big tide swing. So
Soya
there will
Lindblad
be
in
changes.
blue.
And you talked about
In white,
the
Gaz
rip,
Sanchez.
right? And this is a rip ball,
And in
and that's
green,
one of the things
Yanire
that makes this
Gonzalez.
wave so unique is that it's going to have this water moving out along the bank. So you're going to have to be adjusting at all times. You know, you want to get the set waves, but sometimes you'll get yourself just 10 feet too far outside, and all of a sudden the best wave will come slide right underneath you. And those rip balls are something you have to kind of stay busy is one way of surfing it. But also being on the best waves is a challenge. So how do you wait those out, especially when the water's moving so much?
Join the lineup.
It is going to be very difficult to stay in position.
Paddle in, guys. All free
you'll see
surfers, please
surfers that
paddle
will just
in.
get into a rhythm and click in, and that's what's so fun about rip balls is you can get in this little rhythm and you're just like catching 20 waves in a heat. And the quality of the wave is pretty darn good. I mean, this is the only bank, literally the only bank on this whole entire stretch of beach right now that is, you know, it's got an opportunity for 5 or 6 turns. Everything else on this, stretch of beach right now is nothing compared to this, which is very cool that Alain Roux, which is our surf director for this event, was able to set this one up, because we had touched on how crazy it was to be able to call where the bank was going to be here. It was basically a guess to set up the whole thing.
It takes ages to build this. It's a massive, structure. So yeah, they've got to make the call early, and
it's right in front of it.
Yeah, at that stage he hadn't seen a wave break in a month. August was flat pull. That's a good story. But yeah, to pick the bank that early, yeah, he's made a great call. Is Alain.
Well, great shot there. You know, you guys were talking about the rip, and he just saw
2
Tatiana
minutes.
Weston Webb there, just trying to keep in position,
minutes to
paddling
start.
against that current.
That's a great shot right there.
Last
just to
free
showcase that
surfers,
there's
please paddle in.
straight handers everywhere, and then there's this huge
Guys,
gutter,
get ready.
which has produced this wave.
So a little warm up for Tati. I think we're still just trying to clear free surface. She's having a little wry smile out there as we've got some of our other competitors just trying to squeeze
2
in
minutes.
a couple
No
of
more
warm-up
surfing,
waves.
girls,
So
please.
she's here to steal some points, really, because, obviously she doesn't need this rankings in the Challenger Series. She's traveling with her partner, Jesse Mendez, who's in the men's side. So, hey, she was in Air Sarah, but she didn't actually surf in the event.
It's worth touching on that, actually. You know, traditionally on the QS, we did touch on this, but let's revisit. We did previously have double qualifiers, and that meant we went down the rankings and took the next surfers outside of that bubble. It's not going to happen on the Challenger Series this year, Pete. So you're in the top 12 or top 6 for the women, or you're not surfing on the CT.
And ultimately what happens with those double qualifiers, they go back to the WSL as a wild card. Doesn't mean you're completely out. I mean, they could choose you if you have a good argument of why you should be on the championship
1
tour.
minute to start.
But ultimately it goes back to the league. The league decides who those wild cards are going to be. There's lots of factors that go into choosing those, world titles, injuries, great arguments, COVID, whatever.
Personality? Does personality come into play?
I would say that if you're a nice person, it might help. Yeah, for sure. Or if you're a squeaky wheel, maybe that would hurt too. I mean, but I think there's certain factors that's written in the World Book of there's arguments that have kept you from competition. and you deserve a spot, you could conceivably get one of those wild cards.
Here's how it all goes down on the Challenger Series. Of course, top 12 men and 6 women will qualify for the CT from the Challenger Series. We take surfers from our various regions around the world. We also take surfers from the Championship Tour. 34 men, 17 women. Got wild cards as well, the World Juniors. And we're taking the best 3 results. And crucially, our surfers do get a keeper result from the previous season, 2020. So that's big for anyone that did well in that. Well, we ran, what, the first couple of months of what was then the qualifying series?
Yeah, a couple 5,000 point events, right?
Okay, the ROXY Pro France is officially on.